Hey guys, it's Shelley and Jason Martinkus. Welcome back to Redemptive Living Radio. This is about take 8 for this particular episode as we figure out the kinks because as you guys already know, or maybe you don't know yet, we're doing something a little bit different.
Which is, if you're listening, you might not know that we are doing a video podcast this season. And so we'll put links in the show notes where you can go to the YouTube channel or to our academy to get access to the video episodes.
Yeah, if you want to view it that way, but you know.
But it'll still be audio and it'll still be, it'll still have the same quirks and wonkiness at times.
Well, and I think that's what before one of our takes, I'm like, no, we don't need to. The video is more so like, if that's helpful to see us, but I'm not going to be like video ready every time.
Right. It's not like we're going to do something different than we would otherwise do when we're recording.
Exactly. I'm going to still be like doing hand gestures and not talking and trying to communicate to you, etc. So one other thing is we do have both of our now podcast producers.
Pups.
One of them keeps hitting the camera.
Yeah. So if you see like the screen slowly changing the angle, it's not actually intentional.
Right. So, okay. So on this episode, what we are going to be talking about is this concept of preliminary boundaries and preliminary boundary work for women. And so let me just set this up just a little bit, and then I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I've already, I've written a blog post on this. I've talked about it a little bit on Instagram, so I'll also share the links to that. There's a 7-page downloadable. Again, I'll share the link to that as well. So we've already talked about this a little bit, but I really wanted to bring it to the podcast so that we can go a little bit deeper and also just get your perspective on it as well. So what I see with women that are in crisis early on in the process, a lot of them are informed enough to know they need to work on boundaries. And so they're trying to figure out like, what boundaries do I set? And what is a boundary? And how do I set boundaries well? And what I've noticed, and this is mainly from the empowered boundary class that I teach, and one of the gals on my team, Nicole, helps me with that class now. What I have noticed is being able, I call it embodying boundaries, but you use the word internalizing boundaries, which I like that as well. That takes a while. And when we're overwhelmed and we're in crisis, it's really hard to be able to internalize boundaries and really, and I can go more into that. Yeah. And so I wanted to bring to light, and so much of what we do, kind of sidestep just for a second, what we're trying to do here is help the people that listen to us be, if you will, a little more on the fast track, right? Like we're trying to bring things to you guys so that you're not on the slow track like we are and were. And so again, like a lot of this is like, oh my gosh, I think this could really help women and kind of expedite something that took me years to figure out. Yeah. Anyways.
And also that was figured out in piecemeal. Like, just one piece here, one piece there. There goes the mailman, by the way. You might have seen him pass by. This figured out piecemeal. It's like you didn't have this checklist of things to go through and say, I should think about that. I need to think about that. And that's important. It was like, it came up here and then it came up there. And then 9 months later, this came up. And so this is also trying to bring some, make it a more cohesive type of thing for a wife to think through in the beginning, especially when everything's so scattered.
Yeah.
And it's also not just beginning. I was thinking about this after you brought up the topic earlier.
Okay.
There's also an element of this that's like good for somebody to think through when they're later in the process as well. And in some cases after relapse, this is a good thing to think through.
Right.
When somebody realizes they're stuck and like we haven't made the progress we thought we made, right? This is a good time to go through that checklist as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is not just for when you're in crisis. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. Help me remember kind of who else it can be applicable to. But I want to make sure we're clear on something. So with these preliminary boundaries, what I've realized is women need that containment early on. And the word preliminary, I'm using it like it's pointing to more than one thing. Yes, this is preliminary, as in before you do a ton of boundary work and really start to internalize boundaries. This is applicable. But also, we're going to walk through 10 questions from this downloadable, which is not really a word, and I'm sure we'll have people correct us because we get a lot of corrections on the words we use and how they're not accurate. Anyhow, but it's also really the 10 questions. They're not necessarily boundary questions. They're preliminary to doing boundary work.
Yeah, it's like prerequisite work. It's stuff you got to think about before you can even land at thinking about what is my boundary going to be around this.
Right. So 10 questions early on in the process, as well as other times that I think are important to go through.
Yep.
I will say, I think these questions, like, they kind of make me cringe.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have a caveat, caveat, a qualifier, let's say, for husbands.
Okay.
So a heads up. Think about, conceptualize that, especially early in the process, but also at these other kind of marker moments that we talked about a second ago, there is a very real sense of like free fall for a wife, right? It kind of feels like the ground is moving under her feet, now mixing metaphors, right? It's like, it's just everything is unsteady, everything is unknown. And so it can feel really unnerving. It creates a ton of insecurity. A lot of these questions are geared towards creating some sense of security, giving some handholds in the free fall. And I think it's easy for some husbands to hear questions like these and go, what are you talking? Like, are you kidding me? She needs to think about this and that. Question number 8 really irks me, or whatever. Know that it's not coming from a place of a heart of, okay, he's the monster. You gotta get safety from the monster. It's not that at all.
Hi, y'all. Wanted to pop in one more time to remind you about the Worthy for Trust workshop. We hit our capacity, and then I secured a few more spots in terms of rooms. And the way we do it is everybody gets a roommate, just from an accountability standpoint. And so 3 of those last 4 spots were taken. There is 1 spot left. By the way, if you remember from an early podcast episode, I talked about ruining a green couch while Shelley was on a trip. Couch was a casualty. This is that couch. I won't even show you the spot where I ruined the whole thing. Anyway, we have 1 spot left. We'll close registration on January the 11th on Sunday evening. So if you're on the fence, still debating it, there's 1 spot left. I hope you'll come join us in Canyon Lake. It's January 16th through 18th. Again, all the details are in the show notes or at the link in the show notes. Okay, hope to see you there.
It's not that at all. It's not even an indictment on you as a husband at all. It's giving her some handholds so that she doesn't have to feel like everything's just slipping away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. When I kind of came up with these 10 questions, never was I thinking he's a horrible monster, run.
I know you weren't thinking that because you don't think that about the men that we try to help. And that is like, I think, one of the most pervasive broken thoughts that guys have when engaging this stuff.
And that makes sense. It completely makes sense that, and I think as we read the questions, I'm so glad you're saying this, because I think as we go through the questions, men listening right now are going to be like, great, awesome, thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when I thought through these like 10 core questions that are very hard for women to have to face and then to answer, and even like in the handout I talk about, like, take your time with these and come back. Like if you mark maybe on the question sheet, like come back to that as you can, and continue to consider it. My focus with the 10 questions is on her.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about him. Right? Like, this is really, and me putting myself in her shoes, because I was there once, and also for the last 2 decades, walking with women, through this.
So no, there's not a husband indictment.
Exactly. I'm really glad you said that. Yeah. Really glad you said that. Okay, so why don't we go ahead? Well, let me say the one other thing, because I'm afraid I'll forget about it, and it keeps like sitting in my brain. It'll just help me.
Okay.
I think that, and this happens in my coaching calls with women, I will, something will happen. Maybe it's a relapse. Maybe it's just something not going quite as well as she was hoping it would go. And she says to me, you know what? I wonder if I should have kicked him out of the house, for instance. Maybe I should have done that. So as we go through these questions, I think women a little further along, some of these, they might be like, oh, I didn't do that early on, and I wish I had. And I think that's also important, because that could indicate, and we just want to be curious about it. I don't know for sure, but it could indicate that you're not getting something that you need today.
If a wife says to herself,
I wish I had.
I wish I had, or I wonder if I needed to do something different around one of these areas.
2 years ago.
You're
4 years
saying
ago.
that might indicate that today you're still not getting something that you need.
Yes.
Okay.
That regret could indicate, I think oftentimes when I have a client, for instance, that, and I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but it happens pretty often. A client will say, you know what, I think I probably should have kicked him out of the house when I first found out.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, wait a second. First of all, you were completely overwhelmed and in crisis. I didn't kick you out of the house. And not that I'm the standard.
No, but
here.
you've questioned whether you should have.
Yes. And I also have compassion for myself that I was just holding on for dear life.
Right.
And kicking you out of the house would have sent me, I don't want to say strong enough, but I just didn't.
That would have just added more confusion and insecurity and just angst at the time.
And also at the time, you were pretty broken when I'm talking about, like, when you finally told me the full truth. Yeah. It would have been different if you were but you weren't at that time.
Yeah, thankfully at that time.
I mean, later, you went
back
off
and on. We don't have to do that part.
Okay. So all I'm saying is, if there is a regret, let's consider, is there something you're not getting now? And also that it's never too late. If the answer to, is there something you're not getting now? If the answer is yes, let's explore what you're not getting. And sometimes it is years in. Women tend to feel very confined by time. Yeah. Well, I'm already 6 months in. I should have forgiven him. I'm already 5 years in. I can't kick him out now. Women can be very confined by time in this process. And that is something we really need to put to the side, because there are so many nuances and so many variables. So let's put time. I remember for me, truly, 9 months in, I was like, this is embarrassing. Like, Shelley, get it together. Let's move on. Yeah. 9 months in. Right. I would completely, if one of my clients was there, I'd be like, what?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, we'll talk in 10 years or, I don't know. Yeah. So, not 10. But.
So that's not where I thought you were going. I think that's all very valid. It makes a ton of sense. Where I thought you were going is, for so many wives, they feel like at some point when they look back and go, well, I wonder if I should have done that. so many wives ask, did I do it right? And if I didn't take that step, if I didn't make him tell the kids, or I didn't tell the kids, and I didn't do it right, and there's that sense of regret, that might indicate you're not getting something you need. It also might indicate that idea of sequencing and rule following and like finishing well and doing things, the right way. It might be that that's what's coming up. It might not be that you're missing something today. It might be that you need some extra grace for yourself and some extra grieving on the way that it went.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there's not a right
Exactly.
way to go about it.
Exactly. Well, and that's kind of when we go to a retreat and there's a lot of women, sharing their experiences, or in a group setting, there can be a temptation to like, she did it right, I didn't do it right.
Right.
And so we have to keep coming back to, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
It can look so different. And there's also room for like, maybe we need to do it better. You know what I mean? Like maybe there are some tweaks that need to be made. So we just want to bring curiosity to if there is regret with any of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump through them. I don't even know how much we need to take on each one, but I'm going to go through them in the order that they are in the document, just for ease. The first one is, and I tried to like the first couple to be a little, maybe the easier ones, but honestly, these are all really hard.
When you read through them to me, I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're really hard. Okay, so number one is, and I'm not reading them verbatim, these will be kind of in different words, but do you want or need him out of the bed the two of you share? That could be NA if they're already, sleeping separately. But again, for her just to really think about, would that be helpful? In the document, I talk about like the potential benefits of that. I'll save those for the most part for the document because I don't have it sitting in front of me. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think another thing that's important on every one of these is for a wife to know, please don't judge yourself about these.
Yeah.
Because you might be sitting in the place where you go, actually, yeah, I think I would like him just to be in another room for a while. You might be in the place where you go, actually, no, there's some comfort in me knowing he's right there when I go to bed. And that's okay. The idea with this isn't that there's a right and wrong. The idea is for you to think about, what do you need right now? The other thing I want to say, I meant to say this a second ago before you started on them, is it is so okay, and husbands hear this, it is so normal, not just okay, but normal, for a wife to change her mind on these.
Yes.
Tonight you go, gosh, I really need you in the bed. And tomorrow you go, get out, I need you in the basement. And then by Sunday you go, I need you in the bed again. That's normal. That is so okay. It is not fickle. It's not trying to be gamey. Some wives are just sitting there going, I don't know, it just changed today.
Yeah.
The wind blew different. That's all. I don't have an explanation. And it's okay.
And let me just say, we hate that more than you do. We hate that we're like, we need this, now we need this. Like it's drives us crazy, too. So, okay, so I will say though, that a lot of women report when they're kind of on the fence and then they decide, yes, I think it would be best. Again, that's not a boundary, because a tried and true boundary is something it's dependent on us to carry out.
Right.
Okay.
This is needs that are precursor to potential boundaries.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, preliminary here. A tried and true boundary, for instance, would be, I'm not going to have any in-depth recovery-related conversations after 9 p.m. because I just need to get to bed and get a good night's sleep. And my brain will start racing if we start to have that conversation. It's a boundary she can set. It's dependent on her, right? Okay. So, but a lot of women will report, did I already say this, that they just, they're able to sleep better.
If he's out of the bed?
Yeah, if they're on the fence with it and then they finally decide, yeah, I think I want some space in this way, it can really be helpful.
Yeah.
And it's also okay if it's like, nope, I would rather have him, in the bed, and I'll just do a tower of pillows between us,
Or not even that. I mean, I don't think it's uncommon for wives to go, no, just having him there, even though I kind of hate him, is also comforting.
Yeah.
And there's not a tower of pillows. There's not a wall of pillows. There's physical contact even. It's, again, I'm looking at that through the lens of, okay, deciding what you as a wife need right now is what's important.
What you need and what you want.
Yeah.
Which is hard for women early on in the process, right?
Sure.
Or really any time in the process.
For sure.
Especially because of the manipulation and not, for me, it was like, nope, my needs aren't important.
Right.
Right. Okay. Number 2, do you want or need no physical contact? And what I mean by that is like physical kissing, hugging, holding hands, sitting next to each other, proximal, like intimacy, if you will, sitting next to each other with bodies touching on the couch, sort of thing.
Yep.
So that's another consideration, what would feel best to you, kind of along the same lines. Third one.
One
yep.
quick thing on that.
You bet.
I also think that it's okay for wives to determine what they need around that contextually. So I've had wives before who say, like, hey, actually, I'm okay with you having your arm around me when we're at church because I don't want questions.
Oh.
I'd rather you not, and I don't want questions. And so there's these contextual things, if we're at dinner with the kids, I still want us to sit close to each other, but I don't want you touching me under the table. And there's like contextually ways that it's different than out of that context. And that's okay. Sometimes, again, for husbands, it's like, well, I don't know. Do I take 2 steps to the left and 1 to the right, and do I pull my chair up, and do I put my arm around you, or do I touch your knee, or do I what's the program here? And it can feel like there's this gauntlet that I have to try to figure out how to navigate. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So number 3 is, do you want or need to take sex off the table?
Yeah.
And this one, we talked about this before we started recording. This one's, I'm seeing more and more what a big thing this is.
It's
and
just
how
so convoluted.
important it is. And we actually recorded a podcast for last season that never aired, and I don't know that it ever will, but there's just so much pressure for women to have sex post finding out. That's part of our story. I felt so much pressure. I thought, oh my gosh, in order to save the marriage, I've got to be available at any time. And I actually see more and more that women whom are willing to have sex daily, almost every day, multiple times a day, they are so tangled up in... It causes them to get so tangled up in things that it delays their healing. And so I have to work with women, gently pulling them back from that. Not to mention, it also can cause, well, not cause, but men can go from acting out outside the marriage to acting out inside the marriage.
She just becomes the way of acting out.
Yeah. So we probably need to, we could spend more time on this one, but I think I'm communicating, hopefully. I mean, feel free to chime in with anything else, but this one's really, really important. And if she's feeling a lot of pressure from him or from her church, if someone's telling her this is the solution, we need to talk. And I think it can also be really helpful to help with the clouds of confusion and to just gain some clarity and to help you move toward internalizing boundaries by taking it off the table. What do you want to say about it?
I don't know that I've got more to say.
Okay.
It's just so convoluted. It's so painful. I feel like the mixed messages of our culture or subculture, all the stuff, and even internal, never mind all that, just for a wife internally. If I don't do it, what will he do? Is our marriage dependent upon it? All that stuff. What I would say is to a husband listening is, like, take a deep breath, exhale, and like be open-handed with the idea of sexual intimacy at this point. Like, if that's where we are, great. If that's where we're not, great. Just the more pressure you put on it, the more insinuation there is around it, the more pain it's going to cause, and the longer it's going to take y'all's process.
Yeah. Well said. Okay. So 4 and 5 are in the same kind of boat. So we'll do those together. And it's essentially, do you want or need to go get tested for now it's called STDs. And do you want to ask him to go get tested? And these are so hard for me they were hard for me to put in the document. They're necessary.
They are.
And a slap in the face. Like, really? Is this what we're dealing with? And I think there's some women whom are like, yeah, I definitely don't need to do that.
Right.
He was acting out in XYZ ways. Nope. But also know that there's some women that they really don't know if they have the full truth. And I do think those women, I mean, I have said before in group, just so you know, I think everyone should get tested.
Even if the story is, I only looked at pornography.
Yes.
I'm quoting that.
Yeah, not just, maybe we need to rephrase that. Like, even if the story is pornography use, not only looking at pornography.
The reason I said it that way was intentional, because that's the refrain. When a wife is like, I'm not sure if you've acted out with somebody in person or not. Oftentimes the husband will go, no, I've only looked at pornography.
Right, I know. I know what you're saying. I'm just, for our listeners,
Yeah, not downplaying it, not minimizing it.
Exactly. If it's pornography, yeah, I know what you're saying. If it's pornography use,
wow, there
are sometimes, having a little commotion over here, women that are like, I don't think I need to get tested. I also think, though, that there are some women where it is pornography use. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted.
Because Pluto is doing who knows what.
Yeah. I think there are also times when what's been told is it's pornography and it's more than that.
Yeah.
And it would be best for those women that are, if you have a gut feel there's more, or if you just want to be sure, go get tested.
Yeah.
And then there's women whom what he has said is there was physical acting out, and those women do need to get tested, and so does he.
Yeah. So 2 things to say on that.
Okay.
One is, as a husband, you've got to know, you just have to conceptualize like the level of humiliation for her to go do that. I hear so many wives say, I'm walking into my GP or whoever and just, I feel like I'm wearing the scarlet letter.
Yeah.
Because now I'm that woman.
Yeah.
And so that's humiliating. Also for husbands, I'm a big fan of you finding your testing at the county health clinic, not mental health clinic. That's common in our world. At the county health clinic, not your general practitioner. And I'll just say for me, it was part of the humbling process. It was actually humiliating too. And then that's not why I would suggest it, but it was actually very humbling to go to that clinic, to stand in that waiting room, to conceptualize that this is where I am in my life. There was value in doing it that way that I wouldn't have received if I had gone kind of sneakily to my general practitioner or our family doctor and kind of only we know type of thing. There was value in having to take the step of vulnerability and transparency and show up at that clinic. That was one of those marked moments for me of like, kind of, I think about like prodigal son story of like he came to himself. That was one of those moments of coming to myself, is looking around and going, this is where I am.
Yeah, it's heavy. Okay, so that's 4 and 5. They just kind of get worse before they get better.
Okay.
So number 6 is, do you want or need him out of the house? We already talked about this earlier in a different way, but I think that's just really important to consider. And I think a lot of women, they don't start there. I think typically it's something that they need or want if they continue to see signs of a lack of remorse, continued lying, continued acting out.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that comes a little bit further down the road. But I also think there are times when what has happened is so egregious, which is different for each of us, right?
Sure.
Like,
Can't judge one or the other.
That what she needs is for him to remove himself completely from the house.
Yeah.
So that's the next one. And then I'll say number 7 is, what do you need or want to share with your children at a high level? But if you have children in the house, even if you have adult children, which I want to do a podcast just on that, like how to talk to adult children about what's going on, because it was a request from a faithful listener. She'll know who she is. But that as well is a consideration. And especially if he's leaving the house or if he's leaving the bedroom, there needs to be a conversation with the kids to a certain extent. And we can link, we do have a podcast, I'm pretty sure, with some of this. I'll try to find it. And if I can, we can link it, because that's kind of out of the scope of this particular episode. But
I do think, here again, this is one of those places where, it's each wife's prerogative. Is you just said, especially if he's leaving the bedroom or leaving the house, there needs to be a conversation. Some wives are going, there will be no conversation with the kids. I'm not upending their lives. And I'm not going to talk to them, and I'm expecting you as the husband not to talk to them. What are we going to say to them when they're wondering why I'm leaving, coming, and going? I don't know, but we're not telling them what's going on.
Does that happen often, like in your experience with the people you support and all the people at Redemptive Living? I mean, because you're privy to all the people that we're supporting. Is that
I would say
frequent?
It's the exception, not the rule.
Okay.
I would say it's the exception, not the rule. However, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon, especially with littles where you can kind of contain it, right? It's like if you got a couple of high schoolers and you live in a small town, word's going to travel and your kids are going to find out at school and da-da-da-da. And so having some, those folks are like, okay, we need to have some conversation with them so they're not just hearing rumors.
No, wait, why would they hear rumors though?
Because they're in high school and they live in a small town?
Doesn't mean the kids are going to hear anything.
I
miss something?
I'm thinking like if it was acting out with someone from the town. I mean, word travels fast, I feel like, in small towns. Here's where I'm going.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, though. I don't think that's necessarily, I don't know. I mean, it could be the case, but not necessarily.
Not necessarily, okay. But it also could be the case.
Okay.
So all I'm trying to get to with that is I feel like, again, it's each wife's prerogative. Like some wives go, I don't want anything shared with anyone, including our kids, for the foreseeable future, and that's okay too. Again, it's about deciding what you need or don't need at whatever stage that you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, I think that I think this one's really tricky because I think moms so desperately want to protect their children, and when they find out that the father of the children, the one person closest to her, has been this unfaithful and hiding and living this separate life, it's I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going. It makes sense that like she just wants to be a mother bear and come in and protect. And I do think at some point, part of her protecting her children is validating what the children are experiencing within themselves with like, why is mom always crying?
Yeah, giving words to
Why
some
is
of
she
what's
so
going on.
sad? Yeah, so, but I think early on, like, we want to empower her. And if what she needs is, nope, business as usual for the children for a while, absolutely.
Yeah,
That needs
that's
to be
okay.
honored. Yeah, needs to be honored.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 8 is definitely a hard one. And I would say for most people listening, it's not applicable.
Okay.
But there are going to be some women that do need to consider this. And it's, do you want or need him to have supervision, if you will, when he's with your children? Again, I think this is rare.
Definitely exception, not the rule.
But it is something that we have to ask and consider, okay? Unfortunately, it can plant seeds of concern probably in every woman's heart that's listening to this, and that's not my intention, but it is something to consider. And you know, I mean, and to get help, get help no matter what, but if this is the case, it's so important that certain steps are taken. Again, maybe outside the scope of this podcast episode, but yeah. Anything you want to say there?
Nope.
Okay. You're not touching that one, huh?
I think you covered it. I don't think there's more to say.
Okay. Number 9 is, do you want or need to see someone that specializes in helping people heal?
This was the trick question.
Yeah. On the sheet, I don't give a no or a maybe. There's only a yes. Yeah. So this is not the time to go see a general marriage therapist, in our opinion. We've just heard so many stories about this. I also don't think you have to, there's this misnomer, we might cut this out of the podcast, we'll see, out there, I feel like we got to see a CSAT. We got to go see a CSAT. Well, we're not CSATs at all. And I'm not saying anything wrong with CSATs. We have good friends that are CSATs.
Totally.
And I also have a concern about that being the mark, that, you know, there's great CSATs and there's not so great CSATs.
Sure.
So there's many things that you want to look at, and seeing a general marriage therapist it also could be okay, but we've just heard a lot of like, oh gosh.
I would say it's not.
Okay.
I would say it's not okay. You just need to see somebody who has lived this, who has experience with helping people with this.
Yeah.
That's what you need. I don't care whether they're a licensed this, certified that. I don't care if they're a plumber. It doesn't matter to me. Like, so you just need somebody who's been there, done that, lived this. This is what they know. This is what they live and breathe. It's just not time for a general marital counselor. It's not time for somebody who just got stamped certified but hadn't seen more than 3 couples. It's just not time. It's y'all's story. It necessitates at this point having someone who lives and breathes this stuff. That's it.
Right.
And if that's us, we can help. Yay! If not, yay! Find somebody. This is not a shameless plug.
No.
It's like we hear so many stories. This is what the most common story is for me.
Okay.
Is we went and saw a general marital counselor, and we thought it was the right fit, and it seemed to help. And now here we are, X number of years later, and we realize we never got to the real work. We never got to the real work on their addiction, and we never got to the real work on restoration after betrayal. We got some good communication skills, we got some conflict resolution skills, but we didn't get to the real work. That's what I hear is the most common thing. So let's skip that step and just go straight to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, well, and I mean, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know, I within myself probably have more words and thoughts and opinions about this. I think there's several things to look at, and it depends on the couple. But, you know, like, do you want someone that's looking at this through a Christian lens, right, is another one that I think is also just as important as seeing someone that lives and breathes this
Sure.
and specializes
Yeah.
in healing from sexual integrity issues. Do you want someone that specializes on the coupleship versus do you want someone maybe that doesn't necessarily specialize on couples coming back together? So there's a lot of different things that I think, but what I want to say is, and something that really helped me, that I feel like our first therapist taught us was, well, and even it happened before the first therapist, is I needed to feel comfortable with who we were seeing.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The first person we saw blamed me, and not that he didn't blame you too, but he definitely also blamed me for where we were at. And I was like, I'm not going back. And so we just decided, like, I need to feel really comfortable with who we see. And I think that's really important along with that question.
Totally.
For question 9. So anyways, I hope we didn't get too, I don't know. I'd almost like to reword some of the things I said, but hopefully you guys know us and can sift through it. So number 10 is, do you want or need a written full disclosure? And so just more and more, I see the importance of this. And while it's not something necessarily, like, it takes some time to get to that point and to the reading of the full disclosure, I think it's really important from the get-go for women to consider, do I want to go through, and do I want my husband, no matter what happens, to, where we end up on the other side, to go through the process of getting the full truth, all the truth, nothing but the truth out on the table. And I'm highly passionate about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think my opinion there is that as a husband,
You better be careful what you say here.
whether now it's on camera, whether you're 19 and single or you're 97 and married, the work of full disclosure is meaningful for you, whether or not she wants it.
Yes.
It's meaningful for you to walk through the story. It's meaningful for you. You'll internalize things and you'll integrate things within your story that you otherwise wouldn't if you don't do that written process. So I'm a huge fan of doing that regardless. I will also say that from a helper standpoint, it's also really helpful from a helper standpoint for you to do disclosure, because in the process, we start to see the places that need attention. We start to see the themes, we start to see the hooks where, okay, we need to talk about that and that and that. Like, everybody wins, I feel like, when we do full disclosure.
Right.
So,
right.
fan
Well,
of it.
and it really helps with why work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Every disclosure, you can start to see, like, oh, okay, here was the arousal template.
Right.
Like, here's
Formation.
and now this is why you acted out and the way you did.
Yeah. That's if you do a narrative style disclosure. If you do just the facts bullet point, this is when I acted out with whom.
Agreed.
You don't see all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the 10th question. And again, all of these are geared toward helping you or her, I'm talking to the woman here, really get a sense for, okay, what are those preliminary boundaries? Like, how, and I need to say that differently. They're all geared toward helping you really start to almost put a force field around you and get some support. And I could have come up with 10 more questions.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But these will help you start to get your feet back under you, so that you can start to set some boundaries as you move forward. Right. But our boundaries are rooted in needs and wants, and so starting with these early on in the process.
I don't like the force field idea. I don't like the force field metaphor. No, because I'm like, we're not trying to create a space that she's in here and he's out there.
I like it. I use that metaphor. Oops, I just hit my mic. I use that metaphor when talking about detachment.
Yeah.
And I used it this week on a coaching call. Like, I was like, okay, it's kind of like you've got a bit of a force field around you, not to like exclude him, but for her
It's
to
safety
get
for
some,
her.
yeah,
Yeah, totally.
and let him sort out what he needs to sort out.
Yeah, which is very, very appropriate. It's not saying to his exclusion. It's not saying like,
No,
we want this apart.
it's for her.
It's for her to figure out what she needs and thus what boundaries she might need so that she can hold the space while restoration happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go with force field.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So that said, we'll link what we mentioned in the show notes. We will also link the freebie. I'm in a freebie era right
Okay.
now, my freebie era, and not sure how long that'll last, but we'll also make sure and link that.
Yeah.
And we'll also throw this into the podcast freebies. So just a quick, like, if you have not signed up for the podcast freebies, there is so much rich content there. Or if you signed up and it's been a while and you want the most up to date, you have to email us. Just the way it works out in the back end of Flowdesk, we have to remove you from the segment and add you back in. We are so happy to do that. So we'll also throw this in the podcast freebies, and we hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.